When we change our mindsets, we can change our outcomes. Save our lives from sadness, depression, and anxiety, thus giving us the freedom to live the life we want. Hi, I'm Stuart Haskin, founder of getsafe, and your host of the Movement for Change podcast. Hi, today I have Dr. Nina Cash. We're going to be talking about campus safety. She has spent many years as a student as well as an administrator. So let's see what she has to say. Welcome, podcasters. Today is our campus safety edition, and we have a very, very special guest, someone who has supported us for years. It's Dr. Nina Cash. I knew her before she was Dr. Nina Cash. Now I have to call her Dr. Nina Cash, but she has supported us forever. So let's give the audience, can you talk a little bit about your educational background first?
Thank you so much, first of all, Stu, for having me on the show. Gosh, we've known each other now for 25 years, something like that. I think it was 1999.
Yeah, you met me when I was one, right?
You recruited me in kindergarten. Let's get that straight.
Dang,
okay,
that was my thing.
so I have a bachelor's degree in human services. I have a master's in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. And I have a doctorate in educational leadership with an emphasis in higher education and adult learning.
So I get your nickname is Slacker, right? So boy, exactly. I feel very... Oh, forget it. I'll just go with it. So you spent a lot of time on campus. Today is about campus safety.
Yes.
And knowing you, because you've spent so much time, she's been on our advisory board. She has worked with disability, sexual assault, human trafficking, individuals with developmental disabilities, as physical disabilities, victims of crime. She has helped in every aspect. So you must see it because you must have an eye for it. And can you tell us a little bit about campus life?
Sure. So I just retired from the California State University system, and I served at 3 of the universities. And you know, while I wasn't directly involved with the campus safety because I worked for one of the colleges, I was an associate dean, I did hear about, because they do send out alerts. Yeah. So I would hear about different types of safety issues on campus. And of course, sadly, some of them involved sexual assaults. Yeah. And so I'm glad we're talking about campus safety because I just heard about another one that happened. And so, you know, you and I have done lots of training together, yeah. But what is the one thing that you could tell us, Stu, about campus safety? Because, you know, I can only do so much, but I love the fact when we would go out to the different campuses and not only speak to the student body, but then we would also do trainings as well as right. Self-defense trainings. But what are some of the things that and I'm turning the tables on you. Do you like how I'm turning the tables on your own podcast?
This is my show. Go ahead. You look better on camera anyhow, so no one, okay. They're going to probably cut me out anyhow.
Exactly. Yeah, we've known each other for so long, people. Okay, so, you know, what are some of the things, I guess, maybe the top 3 things that you hear or questions that are asked from, you know, the students on campus?
Well, there is a lot of fear on campus right now. Unfortunately, there is a lot of sexual assault, physical assaults. We're seeing a lot of it, and I kind of feel, and this is probably not the platform, but I'm going to do it, is that I feel like campuses aren't doing what they should be doing. Mm-hmm. We have these poor kids coming from these little bubble areas going into these areas where there's a lot of crime. Mm-hmm. They're not being told about it. They're not being aware of it because people may not want to go to that campus, right? I think it should be a mandated thing that students have tools, whether it's on an online platform that is very interactive, because you don't know what you know until you know it, right? You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the training. So that's the one thing I do see that we're fortunate we get to work with UCI, UC Riverside. They're bringing us in on a yearly basis, 2 to 3 times a year, because they're trying to get information, right? Prevention is key before this happens. So yes, we're seeing a lot of sexual assaults because of the dating aspect. People mm-hmm. aren't sure what they should be doing. The entitlement of sometimes athletes think they're allowed to take more than they should. We're seeing the date rape drug that's still out there. Those are the things that if we can do some prevention, which we do. You've been on our classes, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen it. You know, we do the self-defense aspect, which is good, but we want to see trouble before we get there, right?
So we want to be proactive rather than reactive, right? We want to be able to train them so that they are aware of their surroundings and their situations. You know, I do want to address too that, you know, I don't want to say that it's like not addressed at all, but a lot of students don't believe that the male students can be victimized, right? Because for some reason, if you were even a male athlete, you're a jock, there's no way that you could have a sexual assault happen to you. But that could be further. I'm an educator and I don't even know the word.
Don't ask me, right? Because my grammar is horrible.
But that is such a myth, right? So tell me a little bit more about that.
A lot of male assaults are about power and control.
Right.
I mean, many of the assaulters are identified as straight, but this is how they can dominate. And I've been to the hospital numbers of times as a sexual assault advocate, and I go for males. And I remember just this one gentleman who was assaulted and very devastated. And I explained to him, this happens. And you should have seen his face, like, what? Has this happened to someone else before? But it's more common than you know. It's very underreported, right? You know, it's not as socially acceptable, which is sad in the sense of saying, hey, I was raped as a male. And many males won't come forward. So yes, it's definitely a problem out there. At probably not as high a level of percentages as females, but it is something out there that should be addressed and should be opened up, right?
Right.
That people feel comfortable talking about.
Definitely. I know that, you taught me a lot. And then, Harrison, my daughter, yes. She's now 32. Can you believe it? I know what happened. The years go by so fast. But
by the way, I taught her how to ride a bicycle.
Yes, you did. That's right, you did. She still remembers all the training. We started training her when she was a wee one, and she still remembers the training about being safe and understanding her surroundings. So let's talk about giving some tips, okay?
Yeah, let's go with basic tips.
Yeah.
Well, let's just maybe if you want more tips, I did write a book called Get Safe.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Very simple book, super easy. But let's start with safe, right? It's the word. You scan your area. You assess the area, right? Is there any trouble there? If I feel like there's trouble, I forecast that if I go here, I may get hurt. So I decide to make a plan to go around it, and I execute. The reason why we created SAFE, scan, assess, forecast, execute, is because it's simple. And we can do it within seconds.
Right.
Right? And it changes all the time.
Right.
Now, if I'm talking to someone, and all of a sudden I feel, well, this just turned weird. So our big movement, so people can make things simple. I like simplicity when I teach. Yeah. So we're changing mindsets, right? Yep. Say, hey, this possibly could happen, but now we're going to change your outcomes, right? And we do that through communication, connection, and then safety. Right. So we're communicating right now, right? So everything feels good. So our connection is we're talking and it feels comfortable, right? So now I feel safe. But if it turned, all of a sudden I started being weird or you started being weird, we're still communicating. So our connection has started to change. It's not a positive connection. Everyone thinks of connection, oh, I made such a great connection. But connection can be bad, right?
Right.
And how do we do that is through nonverbal or verbal communication. And then we plot our safety from there, right? If it's comfortable, then I feel safe and I'll keep being safe. If I feel someone's angry, I always tell people, hold the door open for people, not only because it's polite, but then that person walking behind you, you see them, you get a read on them. You made that connection through that communication by just even eye contact quickly. And then they're past you, so you're safer because the threat may be in front of you.
Exactly. So yes, and I do that technique to this day because I want to make sure that the person's in front of me instead of behind me. Yes. A lot of campuses, they do a wonderful job in having, escorts at night for people who, and I think that's wonderful. But let's talk about when you're in your dorm room. What are some of the safety things that you can do when someone is in their room? I know a lot of folks say, I'm just going to use the bathroom down the hall, and then they leave their door unlocked. Yeah. They don't lock it, even for a split second. So can you tell us a little bit about what we could do in terms of dorm safety?
Yeah, let's go back to the escort first.
Okay.
Because many people don't use them. Use the escorts. They're hired. That's what they're there for, right? They're just sitting around, and they're just checking their phones and not knowing what's going on. So make sure you use them. And that could go for male or female.
Right.
A lot of times, I'm a guy, I shouldn't use an escort. Hey, two's better than one.
Right.
And they have radios. They know the area. They know the access point. So dorm safety, yeah, of course, treat it like your home. You leave, you lock the door. I mean, it's the same with the gas station. I was not being the weird safety guy, but I was watching a lady. Her charge card wasn't working at the gas station. So she
at the pump.
And she walked in, right? And you pay at the front.
Yeah.
Well, she left her door open.
Oh boy.
Because you don't.
Yes,
right?
you don't think that.
And that's the same thing. You leave, lock it. Make sure you have a key, get in a system, because people lock themselves out. But always be safe. And then all of a sudden, always look. And when someone's knocking at your door, make sure it's who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because it's super easy to say, oh, I've been sent up by campus safety. Something's going on. We don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
And dorms are a little safer because there's a little more activity around. But what about the kids who are coming in and get their own apartment?
Yeah.
Who teaches them about
off-campus housing or something like that? Yeah.
Who teaches them when to leave the door open, when the lights on, leave the music on, whatever it is? Who teaches that? That aspect is we have to remember, because people feel safety. Oh, what do they call you when you're overprotective? They say paranoia or scared.
Yeah.
And that's not it. You're aware.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't we rather be aware of what's going on versus, not aware? And that's people. Oh, I get more freaked out when I'm starting to be aware. No, the more comfortable you are, the better you feel. So let's take a quick break.
Okay. Yes.
And we're going to get back to it. And
Sounds
thanks
good.
for being here. And I'm going to let you talk more.
Okay.
Your turn next.
Okay.
Everybody has the right to be safe.
At GetSafe, we believe in 4 keys of leadership: empathy, integrity, inclusion, and community. That last piece, the community, is essential for us here at GetSafe. We believe in taking care of the community. If we care for something, nurture it, we become part of its growth. GetSafe is an agency that empowers a wide variety of groups, clubs, agencies, workplaces, all that make up our community that we are proud of. When we change our community mindset, we can positively change our outcomes towards a safer future with one another.
All right, welcome back. Well, we were talking about prevention, correct?
Yes.
And we did the SAFE, the scan, assess, forecast, execute. We also have the 3 weapons. We actually have 4 weapons, but we all carry it, right? I don't know if you remember.
I remember, but go for it.
We have our mind, right? We think about things. We see issues that are happening. We're using our mind for that. We have our voice, right? What do we use with our voice? It's create attention. You may yell at someone, they may maybe keep coming, but people surrounding you may think that something's going on here, right?
Right.
And then the last one is what? Our body. And we use that to run if we can. If we are in a wheelchair, we use that to roll away, or whatever walker we have. And then we have the one we use quite a bit, but it tricks people, but it's our spirit, right? It gets us through horrific situations.
Yeah.
We go home, we sit on the couch, we cry, we have a sandwich, but we got through it, right? And I've seen so many amazing, amazing survivors who just fought through things, not knowing even what they're doing just to get back home. We are going to talk about recovery, but also the thing is that people always think, am I going to fight? But there's compliance is a strategy, and fighting.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to comply to get home.
Right.
And sometimes you fight. And some people, like we're sitting here and you tell me what would happen in an assault, I say, I'm going to fight. And you're going to say, I might comply. The roles may be reversed when it happens.
Right.
So we want to know that just to make sure whatever got you to today is the right path for you.
Right. I go back to Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, and he was sadly, in Auschwitz with his parents and his family, and he survived because of his spirit.
Right.
And he said, these captors may have my body, but they don't have my soul and my spirit, and that's what made him survive, right? And so,
can you just give a little background real quick for the audience who may not know who?
Oh, Viktor Frankl, yes, he was Jewish, and during World War II, sadly, he and his entire family was captured by the Nazis, and they were in the camps. And yes, his family were killed, and I believe he and maybe one other sister, and someone who's done research on this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he and another one of his family members were the only ones to survive. But he survived because even though he underwent some extreme, horrific beatings and ordeals. They had his body, but they didn't have his soul and his spirit and his mind. So he was able to survive. So that's kind of, I know you talk about that.
Amazing thing.
Human spirit is amazing.
I see so many stories of, I had a female, her brother's friend came over, knocked on the door. Oh, he's not home right now. Barged in, grabbed her, tied her up, stabbed her like 20 times. She was naked. He was taking her to Vegas, and she somehow got in her and ran away and found help and just fought through the whole thing. And we had the honor to have her in one of our recovery courses. But you see that over and over. And Yes, it's a very valuable thing. But real quick, so I'm going to switch lanes a little bit because you said you were retired, but I see you everywhere on social media right now, and you're killing it. And I think your encore career is what you call it, is modeling.
Yeah, I'm sort of practicing what I was preaching when I was in higher ed. So, again, I was in higher ed, associate dean, but my students were returning adult students. So these students were either getting their bachelor's or they were going for their master's or their doctorate. And basically the average age of my student was about 38 to 40. Nice. Yeah. So, I always said that it's never too late. You can have an encore career. You can be in a profession and then decide one day that, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. And I was lucky enough, Stu, to have an early retirement and dip my toes back into the modeling pool. And little did I know that I'd be thrown in the deep end. I'm paddling. I'm making it work. So, I was just named one of Sports Illustrated rookies for 2024, and I'll be in the magazine at the 60th edition, which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
60th edition. It comes out in May. So
what's that like though? Because you have always been.
You've known me forever. Yeah.
I love the fact that you've always been an advocate and a fighter, and now you're finally getting to do something that you wanted to do for a long time. And what's it like with all this? I mean, you're flying different places every week, it seems like. So,
well, one of the cool things is, I'm flying to different places and I'm meeting some wonderful people. But, I'm so fortunate, Stu, because, all of these nonprofits that I'm so passionate about, of course, GetSafe is on the top of my list. I've been volunteering for you guys for 25 years. I now have a platform, a bigger platform to talk about all the wonderful work that you guys have been doing for you for the last 40 years, but for me for 25 years. I don't want to say that you're the best hidden secret, but you guys are, but you don't need to be a secret anymore, right? So, SI, thank you so much. I thank MJ and the family of Sports Illustrated Swim for giving me this wonderful gift that I'm able to share.
What I value, because I never hold anything against people who have made a lot of money, who have done whatever they wanted to do, as long as you give something like as your time, talent, or treasure. And you're creating this opportunity for you, but now you're creating this opportunity for agencies like us. So there is a new platform. Like people are going, oh, is that new? And it's like, no, we've been doing it for 100 years.
Exactly.
But we know we're very good at doing what we do, but not so great at the promo part. So we appreciate this platform, that you're helping us get in front of people who need it, correct?
Yeah.
This is a need aspect, and the world is a little crazy right now, and a lot of people are 100%. A lot of fear going on, especially you're seeing it more because of the social media reels and everything, and there are some people giving tools that are great and some tips that are not so great. Our job is to get it out there. And our agency, we work with parents that are scared and sad because their kids being bullied and the schools aren't doing anything, which is against the law. So we get in there and help. We have survivors that don't know what they're doing. We have workplace employees who are scared to go to work because they see so much violence at work. So thank you for giving us that opportunity.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it, and we're going to keep
absolute pleasure.
Keep you held on to our board and keep helping you. So
exactly.
We want to get you out there as soon as we can. But I know you and I want to talk about recovery aspect as well, but let's do a little bit more prevention.
Let's do prevention. First. I think that's important.
Things are, the silly things. What's the biggest thing that distracts us is our phones, right? Everyone's on the phone, and you must have seen that millions of time in campus.
I walked into a pool. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I did. Yes. Yes.
I
know, but I'm saying it because it happens.
Well, we got to get off that little device just to be aware, right? Because you see nothing and you see people just walking across the street, feel like this is my right of way. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the car is much larger and stronger, and they're going to win that battle every time. But I think, I feel we always talk about looking for trouble and staying out of it. So being aware when you go in. What's the thing you do when you go into the restaurant?
Me? Okay. Well, everybody. You taught me this, and I do it to this day. I make sure that I sit in a booth or chair, my back is up against the wall, and I can see all the exits. And I plan my exit strategy all the time, whether it be a fire, whether it be somebody coming in with a gun, whether it be anything, I always have my exit. And it's just innate. It's an automatic for me.
And do you feel nervous or
No.
anxiety driven? No, it's a natural
It's
thing,
just a natural
right?
thing I do.
Yeah. And that's what we try and do, build it into your behavioral mode, so you just kind of do it automatically.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we want to, have, because the more you see, right, the opportunities, we always say, let's just keep aware. I just talked to a gentleman, kind of kindred spirits in a sense, especially about safety, because he looked at me and goes, do you ever see things before they happen? And I got freaked out for a second, but I go, you talk about like safety stuff? And I go, yeah, and so he was telling me about a story that him and he was in a restaurant and he saw a couple come in. And he got a super bad vibe and told the guy he was eating with, hey, I got a bad vibe about that couple. And the guy he was eating with looked over, and what are you talking about? They're smiling and having fun. Well, 10 minutes later, the guy slaps his date, throws her on the ground, drags her across the table. He's up before he knows it, on the guy.
Wow.
Has the guy, and it was pretty much out of the movies. He said, hey, I'm going to fight you. We're going to fight outside. And the guy goes, I'll fight you. And he throws him out the door and locks the door. But the fact that he saw before something happens, and then and we were eating, and I was going to text him before. I go, we're going to fight to see who watches the door, because I knew a little bit about his background.
Right, exactly.
But the whole time he's looking over, and if I looked, he looked over, and so it's just kind of seeing things before, and you start looking at behaviors like there's something odd about that guy, and that's the scanning, right? So and then we just kind of assess. Oh, it seems safe, but it's a natural thing.
Yes.
Right? I never feel crazy when I'm there. It's just a natural thing that we build in.
Exactly. When I first started dating my husband, he's such a gentleman. It's innate for him to be a gentleman. So he always opens the door for me, and he just did all these lovely things. And so, I would have to fight him for that chair, like to sit. So I can, what do you do? I get to sit. You don't understand. I've been training this for like how long? So yeah, no, it's just an innate thing. And if, my daughter Harrison does it, her friends do it. And your kids do it too when they're out with friends.
Yeah, and I still,
they're
they're young, so I'm still drilling them. We go to Costco and I ask, all right, what's the car to your left? What color is that car that drove by? What's the person sitting over there? What are they wearing? So what is a potential thought right now? Well, there's a guy standing by the door, and so I just want to create their situational awareness.
Just awareness,
yeah,
exactly.
It is, and it's nothing frightful. I have a thing that we're going to be videotaping this week is called the pickle drill. And when we're driving, and I'll go in a safe street, everyone, but I'll yell, pickle, pickle, pickle. The kids will unbuckle and drop below the seats. Because for them, they think it's fun. But for us, if there is ever an active shooter going on, the person who's most vulnerable, right, is that kid who knows nothing going on and he's strapped in. And then you're yelling, get down, and they don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Right? So we've already drilled it. So those are the things that I'm trying to do. And, listen. My kids are pretty observant, and one time my son years ago asked me, hey, Dad, where's the remote? And I go, have you looked in your right hand? So that's how aware they are at times, but I'm building
I'm like that with
it.
my cell phone, on my cell phone going, where's my cell phone? I lost my cell phone, and I'm talking on it.
I know.
So listen, it's just...
I'm looking for my earbuds, and they were in my hand the whole time. I go, oh my God. But yeah, and they're getting aware, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing really good. My daughter, she's very social, so it takes a little to zone her in on the awareness. But all right, in closing, do you have anything? This is fun. We got to do it again for sure.
Definitely. Well, I look forward to on a next episode talking about recovery, because that's important, and also, our training that we have done.
Well, we also should talk about workplace safety, because we did workplace at Salgo PIC, I think we did years ago.
So now they're with Workforce Investment Board. Yes. So I know all these acronyms, right? By the way, you said UCI previously, and people aren't going to know what that is, so I'll clarify. It's University of California, Irvine. Yes, Irvine.
I did say the Riverside.
You did say Riverside,
I did think that too.
Yeah. So it's all alphabet soup.
But we need corrected by the doctor,
who can't say further and farther. So let's be real on that.
Over 30 years of education. But anyway, that's on another episode. We'll talk about recovery. We'll talk about workplace violence. But I mean, you bring so much information from the academic world in the sense of learned knowledge and the academic knowledge. But thanks for joining us, and say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Movement for Change.
We hope that our discussion has left you with new perspectives and insights that can help you change mindsets and save lives. Please visit us at getsafeusa.com for resources, trainings, and if there's a topic you want to hear about or you have questions, please email us at info@getsafeusa.com. Together, we can make the change we want to see.